is what happens when you're almost 50. Hi everybody, welcome to the Pine Cottage. My name is Nicole. I am so happy to be here with you today. It has been all summer since I've spoken with you, and we've done a lot of family time and camping and just enjoying the summer months. And now I am back to get ready for fall and get all of my creative juices flowing again, because I just didn't feel like knitting over the summer. I didn't feel like knitting and I didn't feel like reading. We were outdoors a lot and we were in the heat and in the sun, and it just zapped my creative energy, and I just didn't want to do any of it, so I didn't. I feel like it's really important to enjoy the moment that you're in, and whatever activities that includes, to just immerse yourself in those activities. So I did a lot of gardening. We did a lot of swimming and camping and just outdoor things. And now, as the evenings are starting to cool off, and sometimes even the daytime is cool where we can have the windows open, I'm starting to feel like, okay, this is my season. This is what I've been waiting for. And the knitting mojo has returned and I'm ready to go. So I hope you guys all had a great summer. I know I left you kind of on a cliffhanger because I said the next video we're going to announce giveaway winners, and then I didn't come back. So I do apologize for that. And if you're here today, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Welcome to anybody who's new. This is where I post videos about knitting and reading and simple living. And it started off as a purely knitting channel, and I just felt it was really important for me to be able to chat about all the things that I'm interested in. So I've kind of morphed it into what it is now. We always start off with talking about knitting, so let's have a chat. As always, we're going to start off with finished objects, and I didn't know if I was going to have any to show you, but I actually have 2 pairs of socks to show you. And the one you saw in the last video, I had started a pair of self-striping socks, and this is in Patton's Croy yarn. This is in Patton's Croy, and I can't remember the name of the colorway. You'll have to look in the last video because I didn't save the tag. But these are my self-striping socks. And I will chat a little bit about these socks. I did have someone who asked a question. Let me find my phone. I don't remember who it was and I can't find the comment, but someone asked if I do anything differently with Patton's Croy yarn. And actually I did with this pair. I didn't in the past. I just used my US 2, which is what I use on all of my socks, which is a 2.75 millimeter because I'm a tight knitter. But I decided because over time, I don't wash my socks every time that I wear them, maybe like every 3rd time. And when I would wear the Patton's Croy socks, they would stretch out a lot because the yarn is, I don't feel like it's a true fingering weight. It's a little bit bigger than a fingering weight. And so I still used a US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter, but I usually do 64 stitches and I only did 60 stitches with this yarn. So I hope that helps. And they do still fit and they're just a little bit tighter, which is good so that they don't stretch out as much. I did 20 rounds for the cuff, which is what I typically do, and I do a 2x2 rib. And then I did, I believe I did 60 stitches for this sock for the leg, and then I do 72 rounds for the foot. I wear a 9.5 US women's shoe, so I have a pretty big foot, so I feel like I need to do that to get a good fit. And then I did just a slip stitch, heel, flap, and gusset, and I decreased for the toe and just did Kitchener stitch on the end. So that is this pair of socks. They're still a little bit damp. Yeah, buddy. The second pair of socks that I knit is in yarn that I bought on vacation last year, I think. And I took it on vacation with me this year because it reminded me of the ocean. And I did not knit one stitch while we were in South Carolina this year. I just didn't pick up my knitting. We were just having so much fun doing other things, playing games, being at the beach and the pool. And I just said, I just don't feel like it. So I didn't. So I just finished these. And again, I don't have the color way. I bought them in a yarn shop, or I bought this yarn in a yarn shop either in South Carolina last year or on a different camping trip. I can't remember. I'm very sorry. But the heels, toes, and cuffs are in Patton's Croy muslin, and it's just a vanilla sock stockinette all the way around. 20 rows of 2x2 knitting for the cuff. I did 74 or 75 stitches for the leg on this one, and then my regular 72 rounds for the foot, slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset, and decreased for the toe, and a Kitchener on the end. So these are actually still wet, but they are done. So they are drying here next to me. I didn't know where to record today because I haven't found a place in my home where I feel like, oh, this is going to be my recording spot. Every time I feel like I've made a little comfy spot, something happens. So I'm no longer in the room that I was as my crafting room because my daughter decided that she's now old enough to handle a larger room. So she moved from the smaller room to the larger room. And I got the small room for my crafting closet and my writing desk. And so I had to fit all of my crafting supplies into a smaller closet, which I managed. But I had to go through some things and get rid of some things, which was good. It needed to happen. But I found while I was in there, this project that had been shoved in this bag for years, and I need to finish it. I only need 12 more rows on this blanket and it will be done. So why I haven't just finished it, I don't know, but I will show it to you right now. And I'm hopefully going to finish it this week because I started this blanket because I want it to be my car blanket to keep in the car during the cold months in case we break down or if the kids are chilly in the back seat on a long trip or something like that. So this is just made out of acrylic yarn. And this is the one project where I kept, well, I did keep some other acrylic yarn for baby blankets and stuff. But as far as big Afghan blankets go, this is the only acrylic yarn that I kept because it was for this project and I knew I wanted to finish the project. So this is just it's a half double crochet stitch, and it's hard to show here, but it's just stripes. So I just have this bottom gray piece and I just have a few more stitches to go, see, so that it will match this one. That's it. That's all I have left of the blanket. Why didn't I just finish it? So I'm going to finish it this week because it needs to just get done and get into my car as it gets colder here. So I'm excited because we'll be able to use it this year. Hopefully we won't break down or anything, but we'll have the blanket if we need it in the car. That is my first whip.
Your stitches still remind me of beans in May, their bowed heads emerging in perfect rows, or blackberry canes that arch and fall, marching across the hayfield between my house and yours, quietly stitching our neighborhood into one grassy quilt for the crows to name. When you were a child planting lilacs here with your mother, did you imagine the same honeyed scent 80 years later, waking someone like me in this house, or that we would sit on this porch stitching and binding together, or that you would finally show me how to fall in love with the time on my hands, to plant flowers to outlive me? This quilt is more than one of your winters, a falling leaves pattern passed down. It is the bed I am still making up under blackberry winters, come and gone, the grace of passing over, passing on.
I've been working on my granny stripe blanket, scrappy blanket. This one, I just feel like I want to get it done this year. I know scrappy blankets can be like long-term whips, but I have all of this yarn collected and I just feel like I want to finish it. So I actually measured it its width, and I at least want to make a square. So I feel like I'm almost to that point. So hold on, let me grab it. So this one, I think I'm gonna keep either back there in my library, or once the basement is finished, it might go down there just to have a cozy blanket to throw on during a movie or whatnot. But it is, let me find where I left off last time. So last time I was right here, and since I've been here last, I was able to add quite a bit. So this blanket, I'll just show you all the way down. It's pretty long. I mean, I'm getting there, but it's also pretty wide. And I wrote down how wide it was so that I knew how much I had to go. But the dog ate the Post-it note that I wrote it on because he's obsessed with Post-it notes. And like, I don't know if it's the glue or what it is, but he's always grabbing them off of my books and my papers and chewing them up. So anyway, I'm not sure how much longer I have to go to make the square, and then I'm gonna make it just a little bit longer. Because I was looking up online, oh, maybe it was 50 by 60 inches was for a throw blanket. I was looking up, yes, that's what it was. I was looking up the normal size of a throw blanket, and it said 50 inches by 60 inches. This is 55 inches wide, so I think I'm just gonna knit up to 65 inches height. So then I feel like that would be a good size for just a cozy throw. That's what it was. So that is this, and I feel like I got quite a bit done, but I still have a basket full of scraps. I'll show you those. Basket full of scraps here, and I am using, this is an E-hook, a 3.5 millimeter. I think in a lot of, I mean, there is a pattern, I think, for a scrappy granny stripe blanket, but you really don't need a pattern. But I think it calls for like a 2.5 millimeter hook. But again, I'm a tight crocheter, just like I'm a tight knitter, so I'm using a 3.5 and it's working fine. It's very drapey, which I like. It's fingering weight yarn, so it's not super thick. Like the last one that I showed you with a half double crochet, that I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook, and it is a little bit of a denser fabric. The next thing that I want to show you is I have made some progress on my dad's vest, and I feel like we are getting to the point where it is almost to the end. I'm all past the stockinette for the body. Let me see if I can. I have split for the armholes. How does this go? Yes. So I am working on the front panel right now. So it goes all the way down. So I'm working on the front panel, and then we have an armhole. The back stitches are on some waste yarn. So I'm going to be working on the arms and then the neckline and then the back. I don't know, maybe by the end of the month. That's my hope. I'm just happy to be at this part where I have to pay attention to the pattern, because I feel like this is the final stretch and then it'll be done. I'm really hoping to get it to him soon though, because like I said, the weather is cooling off and I want him to be able to wear it this fall. So I'll be working on that today and tomorrow. I'll be working on this. And I'm keeping that project in this bag. This is by This Handmade Life. And I love her bags. Olivia makes wonderful bags. And it's just a drawstring and it has a handle. So this was one that I bought for the summertime. I just felt like this fabric reminded me of a picnic. So that's what I'm using to keep that in. Another whip that I'm working on is a baby blanket. And this is the Best Friends Butterfly Blanket by Leslie Friend. And I've made this before, but I decided that I just felt like making one. And there's a couple potential babies coming um, in the next year or two. And I don't want to have to knit something up last minute for a baby shower. So I want to knit some of these blankets and just have them ready to go for the next shower. It'll just make my life easier, and it's a nice break from smaller needles. I knit a lot, like I said, on the US 2s, and sometimes my hands need a break from those. So this I'm knitting, it calls for a US 8, but again, because I'm a tight knitter, I'm using a US 9. And so far, I just have one pattern repeat done. And I just started this like 2 days ago. So I have the edging done, and then, sorry. And I love those little butterfly stitches. They are so sweet. And the yarn that I'm using is Red Heart acrylic yarn, and it comes in these big skeins, and you only need 2 of them to finish a whole blanket, and they're very inexpensive. Yeah, this is Red Heart Super Saver yarn. There's 364 yards in one skein, and this is in the colorway Oatmeal. So that is a fun little project. Love you, Mom. Love you too.
I know you're recording a video and I'm sorry, I just had to say it.
Okay, love you too, buddy. And I'm keeping this in my Knitting Swan bag. This is a quilted bag with little roses on it. And it's the perfect size for a sweater or a baby blanket. The last whip that I'm working on is, I just cast these on last night, so I'm not very far, but it is going to be a pair of socks. I'm doing the Hermione Everyday stitch pattern. I've talked about this before in a video where I talked about different sock patterns, that I don't necessarily follow sock patterns to a T. I basically do my recipe and then I insert the stitch pattern in where I feel like I want it. So I am just doing a 2x2 knit cuff, which this is all I have so far. And then I will do the Hermione Everyday Stitch pattern throughout the whole leg and then the top of the foot, and then just do my regular slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset and toe. And I'm doing it all in this yarn. I'm not using any contrasting yarn for this sock. And this is in Knit Pick Stroll Tweed. It is a fingering weight sock yarn. It is 65% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 10% Donegal tweed. And this is in the colorway Barn Door Heather. So these are going to be a nice pair of fall socks. Speaking of which, and I don't know, I feel like I've said this before, I'm terrible at knit-alongs. But Denise from Earth Tones Girl is having her annual, is it Falling Leaves sock cal? And I want to join. So these are going to be entered. It starts on September 15th, so we're not quite there yet, but whips are allowed. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep, knitting away on these. I have plenty of other things to do as well. So I won't finish them before the start date. But it goes from September 15th to I think November 15th. If you want to join in sock knitting, because that's one of the things I enjoy knitting most, like a lot of us, feel free to join in on that cal. She does it every year and it's so fun because it just gets everybody excited for fall and you get to see all the beautiful fall yarns. And so I decided that I am going to try to finish some socks to enter into that cal. And I'm just keeping these in this little project bag, which you've seen a million times before. And this is by Book How. And it's just, whoopsie, it's just a cute little zipper pouch. Plans, I have one other sock planned to work on. So if I get this one done, I feel like I always have to have a pair of socks on my needles. So if I get this one done, I definitely want to start another pair. And I've already chosen the yarn for it. And this is by Ashen Bumble. It's an 80/20 sock yarn in the colorway Terracotta. I feel like this is a great fall color. And I just purchased the pattern from Deb at Knit On Designs. Where's my phone? It is the Victoria sock knitting pattern, and I'll put a picture up here. But I'm going to knit those socks in this colorway. No contrasting heels or toes. I'm not going to follow the pattern to a T. I just want to use her stitch pattern for the leg and the top of the foot. So that is what I'm going, the second pair of socks that I'm hoping to get to this month. I'm always so ambitious and it doesn't always happen. So if you've been here any length of time, you know that I just do what gets done and what I feel like doing. So I'm not on any kind of deadline. The only deadline that I'm on is for my dad's vest because I really want him to be able to wear it this fall. So I need to just focus on finishing that up this month, and then anything else that happens is a bonus. Those are all my whips. I feel like that is plenty. I'm excited. I'm just like constantly in all my free time the past week. I've just been knitting, 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 and it feels so good because I have not picked up my needles. I'm not kidding you guys. In months, weeks, months. It's just, I just haven't felt like it. So, I mean, I did get some of this progress that I've made has really just been in the last couple weeks because I have not wanted to touch anything. So I have quite a few acquisitions because it's been several months since I've seen you. My monthly sock yarn subscriptions have still been coming in. So I just wanted to share those with you. And I'm going to show you the September yarns, even though we're at the beginning of September. So if you haven't received your September ones yet, you might want to look away. But let's start with June. Palmer Yarn Company for June, the colorway was Piper. And this is just a beautiful colorway that reminds me of seashells. And it's just amazing. So that was June. For Farmer's Daughter Fibers was actually, it looks very autumnal, and I might have to make a fall pair of socks out of this. And this is called Fox and the Yarn Den. It's 80% merino, 20% nylon, and this was the June colorway. That's just so right up my alley. Or right up my street, as they say in England, right? Is that correct? I just, that cracks me up every time. Every time I hear that. So yes, these are going to be a pair of socks for the cowl, hopefully. July for Palmer Yarn Company was the colorway Fable. And then again, this is an 80/20 base. And these are definitely whimsical. Her theme for this club is whimsy, and I just feel like this reminds me of a fairy tale for sure. A fable, if you will. So that is beautiful. And then July for Farmer's Daughter Fiber. This is in her Bighorn sock base. It's 75% micron merino and 25% nylon. And this is the color I Ride My Bike and I Roller Skate In. And this is a fun color combination. And I feel like it's blowing out a little bit, but I'm trying to get it so you can see all those little intricate colors in the mini. And that tonal blue is just really fun. That's my dog snorting. He's got like sinus issues or something. I think he has a cold. Okay, so this was June. Or no, I'm sorry, this was July. August for Palmer Yarn Company was the colorway Flora, and this is also an 80/20 base. And this just reminds me of some irises or some blue, purple flowers. August for Farmer's Daughter Fibers was another 3 skein set. So it was 2 50 grams and 1 mini. And this is in the Pintler sock base, which is 75% merino, 25% nylon, and the colorway Hot Pickled Nights. And this almost has an autumnal feel as well, which I was really pleased with her colors this time around in this year's sock subscription. I'm glad I did it for a second year. If you don't want to see September's, if you have subscribed to these and you haven't received yours yet, go ahead and look away because I am going to show them. So for Palmer Yarn Company, this is the September colorway. This is Mist. And it's almost, oh, I don't want to say. I'll just say this. It's kind of similar to this one, but a little deeper. And the mini is different. And then September for Farmer's Daughter Fibers is in the Highwood sock base, which is an 80%, 20%, and the colorway Brush Watcher. And this is just fall, fall, fall. Love it. So I have plenty of fall yarns to choose from, not to mention all the fall yarn that I have in this dresser. So yeah, there's no reason why, except for time, that I can't knit some fall socks. So those are my yarn acquisitions. And then I did purchase some stitch markers from my favorite girl, Elijah, from Horse Feather Fiber Arts, because she just, oh my gosh, she just speaks to my heart with these progress keepers and stitch markers. So I bought this little owl, this pine tree, because Pine Cottage, hello, and then this other little star stitch marker. Those were my acquisitions over the whole summer. Like I said, I'm trying not to buy yarn because of the sock subscriptions. I feel like that's plenty. I'm really stuffing this dresser full of yarn. It's wonderful to be able to open the drawers and look at them all, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to be able to knit all this yarn. But when I come across a skein that I know that I probably won't use, or just one that's similar to what I already have and I feel like I want to share, I use them for giveaways. So let's go ahead and announce our giveaway winners. If you remember, this is the sock bag that I'm giving away from the Knitting Swan, and it is just a smaller non-quilted bag that's perfect for socks, and it's just a drawstring top with little roses on it. And then I'm giving away a sock set from Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and this is from the May Sock Squad of 2023. And this is 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon in the color Queen Anne's Lace. On my phone again. I tried to use a random comment generator, and of course things have changed and everybody wants to get paid for their work, which I totally get, but I cannot pay $12 a month for another subscription to something. I feel like everything is a subscription now. Patreon, Netflix, you know, there's so many, everybody wants to get paid, which I feel like they should get paid for their hard work, but I cannot afford to pay a monthly subscription for every single thing in my life. So instead of using that, I just went to the video and I closed my eyes and I scrolled down and I stuck my finger on 2 winners. That's just how I chose the winners. So I hope that's okay with all of you. So the first winner is for the sock set, and that is Falcor Dexter. She said, love, love, love your podcast. Glad you will be able to enjoy your family this summer. Thank you so much. I did enjoy my family. You are the winner of this sock set. And then the sock bag, the winner is Jen's Hobby Nook 5826. And she said, the striped socks are beautiful. Thank you. And you will be receiving this sock bag. So if you guys could please email me at hellopinecottage@gmail.com, I will mail those out to you ASAP. So just send me your mailing address. And thank you so much for being here and participating and waiting it out all summer for me to announce the winners. I hope you enjoy these prizes. The other thing that I want to say is thank you, everybody. I have made it to 7,000 subscribers, and I don't even know what to say because I feel like I just kind of abandoned you the last couple months. But I just want to thank you so much for coming back every time and engaging and chatting with me. And I love the conversations that we have about knitting and yarn and books and life. And it's just so wonderful to have a community here. I do not have any plans. I know that some people have asked me if I have plans to do a Patreon or anything like that, and I do not. I don't have the brain to be able to commit to an every week podcast consistently. As you know, as I've talked about, I have attention deficit disorder, and my brain goes with the wind. And if I decide that I want to bake a cake today instead of, doing my chores, that's what I'm going to do. And so the same thing applies to these videos. I really try to do it at least once a month. Sometimes I do it every week. Sometimes I do it twice a month. It just really depends on my moods and what I'm into and the weather. And if it's gloomy and rainy, I just want to knit, and I get a lot done. If it's not, then not so much. So those of you who stay and just are here and show up when I post, I appreciate you. I've had so many comments that say, just do you, girl. We'll be here when you get back. And I appreciate you so much because you are my people. I just don't have the brain to do something like that so consistently. I have a job, I have a family, I have other priorities that I have to do. This is something that I want to do and that I enjoy doing. So I just thank you so much for coming here and accepting me as me. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, 7,000 subscribers. I'm blown away. I'm so grateful. And I do have some other things to give away in the future. I'm waiting to give away the Chowgu needle set that was gifted to us by Christina. I'm waiting for the special 10,000 subscriber mark to do that giveaway. I feel like that is such a generous gift that she gave, and I really want it to be a big celebration when I give that. So I will have other giveaways before then. But if you're wondering, like, she hasn't given that needle set away yet, that's why, because I'm waiting for like the 10,000 subscriber mark to be able to give those away. I do want to talk about another craft. I was approached by the Diamond Art Club to see if I wanted to try some of their diamond art. And I really didn't know what it was, but my daughter was like, Mom, I love that. We did that at school and it's so fun. Will you work with them? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. So I did, and I let her pick out the one that she liked, which was Magnolias, and they sent me the kit. It is at first I was kind of like, oh wow, this is like a big deal. I was like looking through, and I was like looking at the price point, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of money for, I didn't know what it all entailed. But then when I received it, it comes with everything that you need, and the materials are such high quality tools, and she knew right what to do. And so I'll just show you a little video of like how you do it and what her progress is so far. So if this is something that you might enjoy, they so generously gave me a discount code for all of you. It's the Diamond Art Club. You can save 20% off your purchase. You want to go to diamondartclub.com/pinecottage20. So I will put the link in the description box below. Use the discount code pinecottage20 to get 20% off your first purchase. I think you'll really enjoy it if you enjoy this kind of craft. It is really, I was doing it with her. It's really just kind of meditative and calming and peaceful. It's something that you don't have to do all in one sitting. there's this like plastic cover that goes over your work. You just pull it up as you work, and then you just cover it back up. So, and then she's able to roll it back up and store it, you know, for when she's not working on it. So it was something that she's really enjoying, and I had never seen it before, so I thought it was pretty neat too. If it's something, especially with Christmas rolling around, where you want to get a Christmas gift for a friend or a grandchild or child, or yourself, feel free. The description and the link will be in the description box below. So again, the discount code is Pine Cottage 20. Feel free to use that. So that is all for the craftiness. So let's talk some books. Just like knitting, I didn't do a whole lot of reading. When we were camping, I did every once in a while, but sometimes I just wanted to sit in my camping chair and look at nature and just do nothing. I was just having good conversation, and when I wasn't resting and just enjoying a hot cup of tea and some conversation or a cold glass of water, I was getting meals ready and prepared for the family. So didn't do a whole lot of reading. However, for the book club, let's chat about those books, because I know some of you have probably read them, and I just want to see what your thoughts were about them. June was Bella Figura, and this is by Kamen Mohammadi. Did I talk about this in the last episode? I don't remember, but I loved this book. I didn't think I was going to like it. There wasn't a whole lot of spice, but there were some great recipes in here, and I actually have one marked because I make it almost weekly. There were recipes almost at the end of every chapter. Maybe a few chapters didn't have one, but there were a lot of recipes in here of Italian food, simple recipes, and it was a really good book. It was a memoir, but it was light. It wasn't super emotional or anything like that. So I felt like it was a good summer read. So this was a really great book for June. I enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, let me know. July was one that you guys voted on Instagram, and that was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And I didn't know at the beginning of the book if I was going to enjoy it, because something happens with the character, and I was like, I don't want to read about that. But I kept going, and I'm glad that I did, because the way that everything resolved in the end, I was like, yes, this is great. So it's just a fun book about reflecting on your life and what choices would I have made, and if I would have made those choices, how would it have made my life different? And it just gets you thinking, like, sometimes the path that you're on is the path that you're supposed to be on for a reason. So having regrets or second guessing the choices that you made isn't always what you want to do. Or I don't know how I want to say that. Just, I don't want to give anything away, but like, sometimes being happy with where you are is the answer. And I've learned that a lot in my life. I feel like when I get those tendencies to see, you know, people with a lot of land or these houses out in the country, or, you know, 6 children, I think, wow, that's the life that I wanted. I wanted to have more children. I wanted to have more land. I thought that I would be in a different place. But where I am is where I'm supposed to be for a reason. And there's something that I'm supposed to be learning from that. There's something that wouldn't be quite right if I was in a different place than I am now. This is my journey, and there's a reason that I am here, and there's a reason that I'm here because of what's coming next that I may not understand or know about. And so I have to trust that this is where I need to be right now. And this book just kind of reminded me of that. What we think we want isn't necessarily what we need. So I don't know. That's just what I gained from this book. So tell me if you liked it and how you thought about it. And then August, which I will be very honest, I have not finished yet because I'm behind. Madly Deeply, The Diaries of Alan Rickman. And I'm behind because this is literally like they took his journal and they just put it in print. And sometimes it's not interesting. Like, I don't know who the people he's talking about because I don't follow like celebrity news and gossip. So I have no idea like who some of these people are. And sometimes it's like comical because I read it in the context of like if somebody was reading my journal, but it's kind of hard to get into and I'm not very far into it yet. So I have not finished this book yet. If you have, let me know if it's worth my time to keep going, if you enjoyed it, because I'm feeling like right now, I don't know that I want to finish it. So let me know what you're thinking. For September, you guys chose Becoming Mrs. Lewis by Patty Callahan. And I have not started that book yet. So I need to start it, but I'm trying to get through Alan over here. I did read a couple other books that were not book club books that I will share with you now. Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s by Tom O'Neill. And this book is a monster to get through. It is something that took me a while. It is confusing at times because it's nonfiction and it's very eye-opening and very revealing about how the US government works, how the FBI works, how things are going on that we have no clue about, and then they come out later. So that's kind of what this is. Tom O'Neill is a journalist who does years and years and years of research on the Manson case and the 60s. And he is opening doors and digging deep into the secrets and putting them all in this book. And it is a lot to process. So it took me a while to get through this. I kept confusing names because I don't know who these people are. Again, like Celebrity World, or, a lot of these names he's using are different like FBI agents and different people. And it was hard for me to keep it all straight. So I had to read it very slowly. Sometimes I had to go back and like reread sections, but I felt like it was an important read because this guy has no reason to lie about what he's finding, and he's revealing lies that have been told to the public. So I feel like it is a very interesting book and definitely worth the time if you are interested in learning truths about things like this. Another book that I read is The Woman in the Photo, and this is by Mary Hogan. And I was told about this book through a booktuber that was reading it, and it is about a Johnstown flood. And from what I understand, there has been more than one Johnstown flood, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And the reason why it appealed to me is because my grandfather was born in Johnstown and was in a Johnstown flood when he was a child. And so I was interested in reading this book, and it is fiction, historical fiction, and it was enjoyable. It had a little bit of a Titanic movie ring to it, I felt like, as far as like the character of Rose, I feel like mirrored this character. If you like historical fiction and kind of that time period where you had, like the elite people with the money and then the people that were like the blue collar working in the mines and that kind of thing, then you might like this book. The year was 1889, Pennsylvania, in Johnstown, and it just follows the story of this girl who was born into this wealthy family and her friendship that develops with someone from, not a wealthy family, and then the whole flood situation. It was good. I liked it. My mom is reading it now. This was a library copy that I got, and then I wanted to purchase a copy, so she is reading that one. So I liked it enough to purchase it. Another book that I read is poetry. It's How to Fly in 10,000 Easy Lessons by Barbara Kingsolver. And I read during the beginning of this video one of these poems. I hope you enjoyed that. It's just, poetry is one of those things that I will always love. I enjoy writing it. And I mentioned in a previous video how I love packing a punch with emotions and words and a small amount of words. And I just think that that is a gift when somebody does it really well. And Barbara Kingsolver does it really well. If you're interested in poetry, I would say this is definitely a book that you might enjoy. How to Fly. And then the last book that I read, which was a whopper, was East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And this is a classic that has been on my shelf for years, and I just never opened it to read it. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And so I did. And as you can see, I have many pages marked with quotes that I love. His writing is just, there's a reason that it's a classic. He's just really great with words. It was such a beautiful read. What intrigued me about it was the parallels. I heard that there was a parallel between the whole Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel story and this, which it was titled East of Eden, and I just was curious. So that's why I purchased it. But then after I read it, I was like, wow, he did that. He paralleled that in such a beautiful way, and it was so complex. I don't know how he even arranged his thoughts and organized his thoughts before writing so that he knew where to insert certain things. Like, I just don't, fiction writing it's such a puzzle to me. I don't know how he knew where to put things and how to arrange the characters. He just did it in such a beautiful, lovely way. Definitely will read more of his. Oh, I have read Of Mice and Men. I read that years ago in school, but I will be looking to read more by John Steinbeck for sure. So the main character is talking to his servant Lee about children, and he has two children of his own, but he has been kind of distant from them. He hasn't been a very close father to them, and so he's having this conversation with Lee, who Lee has practically raised these boys. Well, maybe it will come out later, said Lee. Seems to me you put too much stock in the affairs of children. It probably didn't mean anything. Yes, it meant something. Then he said, Mr. Trask, do you think the thoughts of people suddenly become important at a given age? Do you have sharper feelings or clearer thoughts now than when you were 10? Do you see as well, hear as well, taste as vitally? Maybe you're right, said Adam. It's one of the great fallacies, it seems to me, said Lee, that time gives much of anything but years and sadness to a man. And memory. Yes, memory. Without that, time would be unarmed against us. I just think that's so true, how sometimes we dismiss children because they're children, and their memories and their experiences are just as important as ours, because that's what shapes them. How many of us think back to our memories as children and certain core memories that have shaped us or traumatized us or changed us or motivated us or inspired us. I mean, we can't dismiss children because children are going to become adults, and it's the experiences that they have as children that make them who they are. And I just think that this is such a great conversation, especially in reference to people who will just dismiss children because they're children. Children should be seen and not heard. I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, especially because Jesus said, out of the mouths of babes and infants, thou hast perfected perfect praise, right? So, I mean, it's just such a contrast between the two thoughts. I just think children are amazing. So, I don't know. I just liked that conversation. We are kind of at a standstill with the basement. The drywall is finished. The walls are up. Painting is next. I am the painter. But my husband has been working really hard, and then he got sick, so he has not been able to clear it up down there, clear all the dust out so that I can paint. And then we were gone on camping trips, just like one after another, and we bought a new camper. So the expense of buying the new camper kind of delayed the basement progress, but we were in a position where it was like, this is our now. This is what we're enjoying doing now. Our children are here with us now, and we want to have these experiences when we can. So the camper was just something that we felt we had to do to enjoy our family and enjoy that time together. And now we have one more trip in October, and that's like how we close our camping season. And then we will have many months over the cold winter to work in the basement. We're not going to finish it by Christmas as we had hoped, but we will be finishing it sooner than later. So hopefully in the next few weeks I can start painting and we can get moving again on the basement situation. So now I'm just working on wrapping up my garden. I have some fall crops in there. I have some carrots. The tomatoes are still growing and giving me some fruit. The herbs, the basil, still going like crazy. So I am going to rip out the strawberries. They are in their third year, and I feel like we just need to start fresh. I had some terrible Japanese beetles this year that ate a lot of my strawberries. They killed my roses, so I'm hoping that after I cut the roses down, they'll come back next year, but not the beetles, the roses. Things are just happening and life is being lived and we are enjoying it. My daughter is back in school. She started her first year of high school, so that is new and different and fun. And my son is in 6th grade and he is still being homeschooled, so he is upstairs enjoying his alone time right now while I while I film this. A couple of you have sent me some recommendations for books. If you want to vote on the 4th quarter book club books, feel free to send me some suggestions and I will post a poll on Instagram so that we can vote on those. If I don't get a whole lot of recommendations, I'll just post some for you guys to vote on if you'd like. I feel like that's all I have. I hope you guys are doing so great and I can't wait to see you again in the next video. And thank you again so much for being here. And happy fall. Enjoy your sock knitting. I'd love to see some pictures if you guys feel like sharing. Feel free to email me or DM me on Instagram. I'd love to see some of your fall socks. So feel free to do that. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.